Hey kids, Grandmaster Ben Finegold here with Kid Chess. So I thought I knew almost all of Paul Morphy's greatest games, but you keep finding new ones. And they're very instructive for today's players because they really show you how one side gets all of his pieces out, castles, makes threats, and the other side doesn't. And of course, if you're watching today's games with the Grandmasters, they both play pretty well, and the reason is they saw games from 50, 100, 150 years ago, and they said, okay, we're going to play like that guy and not play like that guy. So then people started playing better. Okay, so this game was played, I think, in 1849. Morphy was white. And they transposed to a Joko piano with a sort of a funny move order. And they got this position, which Grandmasters play today. And having said that, there was a Grandmaster game today where this did happen. So you can play it right now. Now, in the 1800s, white always played d4 here. Grandmasters figured out how to equalize against that. So now Grandmasters usually play d3. But he played d4 because this was 1849. Okay, and after takes, taking back is the most common move. You can also play e5. Attacking the knight. This is very complicated. Now, a general principle for you guys is when you have a double king pawn opening and white plays e5 because of d4, and we attack the knight, it's almost always correct to play d5 attacking the white bishop. And in fact, that's the case here. So here black made already a move that probably loses with correct play, and it's something that we know today. But okay, in 1849, give him a break. He played queen e7, pinning the pawn. And generally in the opening, we don't want to move our queen out very early, especially in front of our king. Because when the king and queen are lined up, bad things can happen. Okay, now you can't take the knight because it's pinned and the pawn is attacked. That's the idea. But of course, white can just castle. Okay, and normally we would want to take this, but after rook e1, we got all our pieces on the e5 pinned and attacked, so that would just be losing. Actually, black's position is so bad here that he should give a piece away. That's unfortunate with the move knight takes. And then after rook e1, he's going to lose a piece, but it's better than what he did. Instead, he realized his knight was attacked and that knight takes didn't work, so he played knight g8. Undeveloping, not a good idea. White played c takes d4. So material is equal, but the knight's on g8, the queen's on e7, and white has a big center. White's already castled. White's already winning. Okay, that was a typo on my part. Bishop b6, saving the bishop. d5. Again, it's the same trick. If you take this pawn, I take and play rook e1. You can't have your king and queen lined up when your opponent can put a rook on the file because you're going to lose your queen. So you got to keep this file closed. That's unfortunate for black. Okay, so black played queen c5. The best move is probably knight a5. Black decided to counterattack the bishop, and now, since his queen and king aren't lined up, he can play knight e7 and castle. That's what he's hoping. So if white takes the knight, black takes the bishop. So Morphy saved his bishop and developed a piece. He played the move knight a3. Now his knight's out of the way of his rook. His knight defends his bishop. And still, white's threatening the knight. Black has to save his knight. Okay, he played knight d4. Now, a lot of mistakes I see beginners make is they trade. Okay, in this position, white doesn't want to trade because white castled and black did not. So we want to attack the black king. So if we go takes, we're trading all the pieces off. Now it's very hard for white to checkmate black because we've traded so much. So instead of trading, Morphy continues developing. Morphy has 3 pieces out, but what about these 3 pieces? So Morphy plays bishop e3, pinning the knight to the queen, and developing his bishop. Knight takes check, queen takes, the bishop's attacking the queen has to move. F8's not a good square, But if he goes to e7, then he can't play knight e7. So he was trying to, I guess, defend his king side. Bishop takes, pawn takes. And even though we've made 13 moves, black still has all of his pieces on the back row and is not castled. White has all his pieces except his rooks developed, and he has castled, and he's dominating in the center. That's why I consider Morphy the greatest player ever. Knight b5, threatening this fork. You've seen that fork before, forking the king and rook. You know that fork. Okay, he played king d8, not the finest move to make. And now once again, Morphy gets all of his pieces into the attack, like he always does. Rook a c1, lining his rook up here. d6, trying to get his bishop out. Takes, takes. Queen e3, threatening this weak pawn. That pawn's not defended. Queen takes b6 check. That's crushing. Do you see how black defended his pawn here? He's only got one way to do it. Can you figure it out? Rook a6. Okay, now Morphy did all kinds of tactics. He played the move knight c7, attacking the rook twice. And if the king takes the knight, he's lined up with this rook. So I can play bishop takes rook check, for example. And then this is check. And I've taken your rook. So knight c7 is a brilliant move. You can't take the knight, although you can't leave your rook here. So there's not much you can do. Okay, he played queen e7, trying to trade queens. If black trades queens, he won't get checkmated. Pretty good. Knight e6 check, another brilliant move from Morphy, making sure he doesn't trade queens. And the reason he did that is he wants to take the rook and then take the undefended b-pawn with check. This king's getting massacred. Takes, takes. And now white's ahead material, and if black wants to be ahead, he can. He can take the bishop, but there's no defense to queen takes pawn check. Because the rook is on the bishop, the queen is on the king. There's nothing you can do. If you play king d7, there's a lot of ways to win. But the easiest is check and checkmate. Checkmate's the easiest. And obviously, instead of king d7, he plays king e8. We play rook takes check. We can play rook c7, winning the queen. And these pieces still haven't moved. Okay, so black didn't take that bishop because he didn't like that. He played bishop d7, developing his bishop. And then bishop b5, another tricky move with the same idea as before. If you take the bishop, queen takes check. And that's going to lead to either checkmate or white winning the queen. And the bishop is also attacked. There's just no defense for black. King e8, pawn takes. Now, if you play bishop takes bishop, rook c8 check. Uh-oh. That's not good. He played knight f6, which is silly, and white won in a very silly way. Every move wins. Bishop takes, pawn takes. But Morphy played the cutest move. Rook c8 check, taking advantage of the pinned bishop. Morphy liked to use all of his pieces. Okay, and the bishop's pinned to the king, so you can't take the rook. So here black resigned because black's not going to have any pieces left. It's good to have some pieces left. He has to play queen d8. It's the only legal move. Then he loses his queen and his bishop. He's got no pieces left. So in that game, white castled and black didn't. Black made a lot of queen moves. White was developing every piece, and he won easily like he always did. Now, I saved the best for last. I like to do that. This game was played in something called a blindfold simultaneous. Simultaneous means you play more than one game simultaneously. So let's say there's somebody at your chess club and they just beat everybody. So you don't want to play them. Well, you could have them play 3 or 4 kids at once. Okay, play several people. That'll make it hard for them. Now, in this instance, not only was Morphy playing more than one person, he was playing different people, he also was playing without looking. He was playing blindfold chess, where they would tell him the move that was made, then he would do it in his head and tell them his move. And still, he plays virtually perfectly. Pretty good for 1849. Yeah. So that was Paul Morphy crushing his weaker opponent by using all of his pieces, by attacking, by checking him, by forking him with pins. He castled, his opponent didn't. He got all his pieces out, and he won very easily. A great game, and one that I just learned today. Even when you're a grandmaster, you're still learning about chess every day. It's great. This is Grandmaster Ben Finegold for Kid Chess. Until next time, bye kids.